Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to like. Flight Risk, directed by Mel Gibson, who, man, this guy never fails at making a movie. A very entertaining movie. The pacing is great. It moves very fast. It's a short movie too. It's only an hour and a half. It's not like a 2-hour movie. And it's a lot of fun too. Let me tell you, the banter between all the characters is entertaining as hell. And usually there's one thing when you have good dialogue with characters, when you have very clever or very funny things that the characters can say. But I appreciate it a lot more when it's not just done for the sake of being clever or funny or witty, when it actually advances the story. Banter could be a strong tool, not only to reveal information about the plot, but also to reveal information about our characters, their motives, their behavior, what they believe, what they want. And this film does a very good job at creating 3 distinct personalities where the banter works great with and it advances the story. From the trailer, you basically get all of your main characters. We got Eric Foreman from That 70s Show, Marshall Madeline, who was the wife of Matthew McConaughey in that movie, The Gentleman, and we got Marky Mark as an absolute menace to society, stuck on a plane. And when you think about it, when you have to tell a story in a single setting, it feels limiting. Like, how much of a story can I really tell with 3 people on a plane? But with enough information about who wants what from who, and what happens if they don't get it, you get a very entertaining story. Before I continue, I will get into some very mild spoilers. So let's get to a quick 10-second commercial break. If you don't want spoilers, now's your time to leave. The Stars and Stripes Freedom Deck ships exclusively in the United States. Available on eBay and Etsy. Link in the description below. Okay, now that we're back, let me break down the order of operations this film plays out in, and then I'll get into what my favorite part about the conflict is. So basically, we got our plot established immediately. Within the first 10 minutes, everything is clear what the goals are. We start off in Alaska. Eric Foreman is a compromised accountant. Marshall Madeline needs to take him back to Seattle, I believe it is, to be part of a confession. And Marky Mark is an assassin, a psychotic assassin. Obviously, when Marky Mark steps into the picture, the flight becomes compromised. However, before it becomes compromised, or before our other characters know that it's compromised, I love how Mark Wahlberg, it just plays this kind of a goofy character and slowly becomes the psychopath that he is. I mean, he's kind of already a little off. So when you're watching him, you're like, wow, this guy just seems a little weird. Like, I wouldn't trust this guy as my pilot. He's just a little off. And as you're getting further and further into the air, you just realize, oh my God, I'm stuck on the plane with this psycho. But the key thing here, and this is my favorite thing about the story, is that it leaves me asking a question. A good question. A question I'd like to ask you guys. What do you do as a deputy or a marshal or whatever tier of involvement you are in law enforcement when you find out that your agency has been compromised? Who can you trust? That's the exact situation that Marshall Madeline is stuck in. She, through a series of phone calls and her conversation with Eric Foreman, starts to put together that she's been set up in a mission that is supposed to fail for her. So can you imagine? You already have this high-risk criminal to transport. Now you're stuck on an airplane with a psychotic hitman who was hired to take the both of you out. And you find out that this hitman has information, personal information on the both of you. And there's only one place where he could have gotten that information from. And you start to put together these pieces like, the agency I work for is setting me up on this job to fail and die. What do you do? It's such a crazy situation to put a person in, and it makes for a really good, entertaining story. The only thing, my one big complaint about this film, it doesn't kill it for me, but it is just one of those things where you're watching and you're like, oh, really? It's like when the plane dives through that snow pile or that snow peak at the top of the mountain and makes it out of the other side. That's the only part of the movie where I was like, okay, come on, I can only suspend so much of my reality to this film. But other than that, oh God, it was such a good movie. I definitely recommend this film to anyone who's a fan of action thrillers. It's more of like a thriller. It's like there's not a lot of action, but the thrill of the film is just so worth the watch. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next one. For more uneducated expert analysis on film and cinema and the creative field in general, follow us on Twitter at Ghettoplex_MP4, on Instagram at Ghettoplex.mp4, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Ghettoplex. Support the channel. Buy the Stars and Stripes Freedom Deck. This is a one-of-a-kind design, only available in the USA. Available from La Casa Loca on eBay and Etsy.